I'm Jamie, Fort Vancouver Library's experiential learning librarian. Today's project is animal ears. For today's project, you're going to need a few core supplies. A piece of fake fur, a piece of felt, a couple of teeny tiny pieces of velcro. So if you have velcro, and this piece is microscopic, but this is sticky back velcro. So it's got a waxy cover on the backside. And then you can pull it apart and you should have two pieces of velcro, right? You have the one that's called the hook and the other one. Okay. You're gonna want some scrap paper. I'm gonna use this paper from the summer reading kits that we had, but any kind of paper you have is fine. And you notice it's not totally blank paper. So the backside has quite a big blank spot, but I'm not doing a ton of writing. I'm actually just going to use this to draw some shapes on. So if it has pictures and text on it, that's totally fine because I'm using it as a template. You're gonna want a pair of scissors, a pencil so we can draw our template, a stapler, I have a teeny tiny stapler, and then some yarn. Now if you look at the supplies I have, so I have my felt and my fur, and these are the two main pieces of my project. The felt and fur are not the same size. So if I lay them together, you can see I have more felt than I have fur. So that's really important to note. And what I want to make sure is that I have enough, is that my ear template is small enough that I can fit two of them on the smallest piece of fabric that I have. So the smallest piece of fabric I have is going to be my fur. So I want to make sure my animal ears fit two on a piece of fur. To help myself do that, I'm going to take my scrap paper and I'm going to cut it down so that it is roughly the same size as my fur. Okay, so I've cut out my scrap paper, so it's the same size as my fur. So I just laid it over the top and then just cut it. And if it's a little bit smaller, that's even better because then you know for sure that your template will fit on there. Now I'm going to take my scrap piece of paper and I'm going to draw a basic animal ear shape. And I want to be able to draw my shape so that I can fit two of them on a piece of paper. So I've decided that with my cool fabric that I have, I'm going to draw a couple of kind of mouse shaped ears. And if you ever doodle a mouse or any sort of animal, so if I draw a mouse from memory, and it's kind of a cartoony mouse, I always draw a big circle for the head and then two smaller circles for the ears. So I know if I want to make mouse ears, that my ears need to be pretty circular shaped. They don't have to be a perfect circle, but that's the shape I'm going for. So using my scrap piece of paper that I know is the same size as my fur, I'm just going to draw a circle shape. So I didn't draw a complete circle. I drew kind of a circle that gets cut off at the bottom here because it can be flat along the bottom because that part is going to be on my head. So it'll be fine. It doesn't have to be a circle at the bottom. So I can, and I have one drawn here and I clearly have enough space to draw a second circle. So I feel pretty good about that. So I'm going to cut out this one shape and use it as a template for both ears so that's the same shape. Okay, so I have my basic ear shape. So the idea is that the fur is going to be the outside of the ear and the felt's going to be like the inside of the ear. Take your basic template, your ear shape, set it on your fabric, and it's easier if you work on the back side of your fur, so the flat side. This side is knit and then this is the furry side. So if I place my template on this flat back side and then again leave myself some space here at the bottom, I can draw the shape on here and I can cut it out. And then when I'm cutting it, so you can see I cut the circle at the top and then I'm just going to cut straight down so that I get a nice kind of long rectangle here on the bottom. So here's my earpiece. So compared to the template, you can see it has the rounded shape at top, but then it does have extra here at the bottom. So my actual ear is a little bit longer than my template, which is perfect. So now I'm going to cut one more just like this one. Okay, now we have two furry ears. Now we need to repeat the same process for the felt. And with the felt piece, I want it to be the same as the ears. I want it to have the round shape and I want it to have a little bit extra at the bottom. So I'm actually just going to use the ears I cut out And I'm gonna lay it on the felt. Again, I'm gonna try and lay it close to the edge of the felt so I can use as little felt as possible, because then I can make more ears if I can conserve the fabric. Because I still have quite a chunk left of this fur, so I can make another set of ears, which is really exciting. So place your fur ear on the felt piece up towards the edge and then cut around it. I have one felt piece, and so at the end it'll look like this. So the felt will cover up the underside of the fur and it'll look really cool. So now I just need to cut one more piece of felt. Your shapes don't have to be perfect. If you spend any time looking at animals or things in nature, you'll notice that things aren't always exactly the same, so that's cool. It's more organic if it's not quite the same. So I've got my 2 pieces of fur, 2 pieces of felt, and I want the felt to stick to the ear, and it doesn't naturally stick to this fur. And I've also noticed with my felt that it kind of pokes out around the edges of the fur. I'm gonna work a little bit more on doing the earpiece, and then if at the end I feel like it's a little too big. So I'm putting my felt on the underside of the fur. And now what I'm going to do is I need to stick the felt to the fur. There's lots of different things you can use to do this. I usually like to use hot glue, which is great. Some people don't have hot glue, and sometimes Velcro is a little easier to get a hold of. So we have these little pieces, and you don't need a lot of Velcro. We're gonna use a little tiny piece of Velcro. So the top of my ear is this rounded part, right? So I'm gonna take my Velcro and I'm gonna peel off the back side, the waxy part, on one side of my Velcro, and my Velcro is still squished together. So I pull off this backing, and then I'm going to put my little Velcro tab at the top center of my ear, just like that. And you can see the Velcro is still stuck together, and this waxy paper is still on the other end, which is excellent. Because now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my felt piece and I'm going to take its rounded edge and line it up so it's just at the bottom of where the Velcro piece is on my fabric. Because what I'm going to do is, with the felt lined up to the bottom piece of the Velcro, I'm going to pull off the sticky back on the sticky, I'm going to pull off the waxy part on the sticky back of my Velcro, and then I'm going to fold the fur ear over and stick it to the felt, and this will keep the two connected, which is what I want. So I'm going to take off the waxy back. Sometimes it helps because I'm keeping my Velcro stuck together. I'm not pulling the 2 pieces apart and then sticking them onto the felt and re-Velcroing it together. I want to keep the Velcro lined up, so I'm leaving the Velcro attached to itself. So while I'm pulling off the waxy paper backing, I usually keep my finger right on the edge of where the Velcro is to keep the Velcro stuck together. So I'm just pulling off the back piece. And then I have another sticky back, so I can take and fold over my ear, and it'll stick to the felt piece. And then you can un-Velcro it if you want to. And so now I have a piece of Velcro stuck to my felt and a piece of Velcro stuck to my fur. And then you can just kind of adjust it a little bit so you get a nice good look. Take your piece of fur, take off one side of the waxy paper backing, making sure your Velcro stays stuck together. Put the Velcro at the top of your fur piece. Line your felt just below that Velcro piece on the fur, and then keep the Velcro together while you pull off the other waxy back. And fold over the fur to stick it to the felt. Ta-da! Now, you'll notice on your piece, if it's a lot like mine, so since the felt is shifted down, we've got a lot of overhang right here, which is perfect. That is exactly what we want. So you have two pieces and they're kind of loosey-goosey, but they are technically stuck together, which is the goal. Now to finish off our ears, we just need to fasten them to something so that we can wear them on our head. So I'm going to use yarn for this. And I'm going to take a piece of yarn and measure roughly. I'm going to take it, I'm going to lay it on my head and then pull it towards the back. And I'm going to make sure that I have a piece that's long enough to go to the back of my head and then also enough extra that it'll actually tie. So I have my yarn on my head and then I have my fingers right where the yarn meets at the base of my neck here. So this is the size of the loop that I need for my head. And then I need extra yarn past where my fingers are so I can actually tie it. So my fingers is where the loop ends for my head, and then I need some extra at the end so I can tie a knot at the base where my fingers are. So this piece, it should be long enough for me. And then if you fold it in half, you can figure out where the center is, because this is where you want, right? You want your ears kind of centered. It's kind of nice using yarn because then you can adjust it quite a bit. I'm going to take my ear and I'm going to lay the ear with first side up. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my piece of yarn and I'm going to put it so it's so I'm putting the yarn at the base of the fur, and then I'm going to fold the felt, because we have all this extra felt at the bottom now. I'm going to fold the felt backwards so that it is over the yarn. And then I'm going to take a stapler and staple it. This is almost too much for my tiny little stapler to staple. And then if you just staple the felt over, then you can put your fur over the top of where you stapled and it'll hide it nicely for you. So now that I have one ear, I'm gonna put the other ear on and make sure I put them on in the same direction, because I've done this project where the ears have been backwards. Well, one was forward and the other one was backward. Fold it up, staple that piece of yarn inside the felt. Now, if you don't have a stapler, you can also use a hot glue gun, would work really well for this. You can also use like school glue, but you'll need to let it dry for quite some time. So you gotta be patient if you're gonna use kind of a wet glue on it. Staples work for me because I am not patient. This is too much for me to manage, so I'm gonna staple the felt to the fur. So all I did is I took and put a staple right in the front. If I do it from the back side, you probably won't even be able to see it. So if I have my ear the way it's supposed to be, which is this way, and then I have my stapled piece at the bottom, if I turn it over so the first side is up, see if I can get my stapler to staple once more, and I'm gonna staple the felt to the fur. You can do it, tiny stapler. Yeah! So I'm gonna keep it in place for me. And then, since it's yarn, you can just kind of adjust them to where they sit, where you want them. And if I stand perfectly still, I have animal ears! Have fun and keep making. We hope to see you at the library soon. Until then, the library's website has a lot of great resources. www.fvrl.org. See you next time!